And what's up, everybody? Welcome into Hockey Sense. Actually, we're at our new studio right now, Half Coast Studios. I mean, we are in transition right now with Hockey Sense, which obviously has been around for a long, long time. It is the longest running hockey radio show in St. Louis. It has been for years. We've been on the radio for, over 20 years here in St. Louis, talking pucks. Obviously, specifically the St. Louis Blues, but we get into everything around the NHL. We talk hockey at all levels and certainly all leagues. And we get into youth hockey. We get into everything. Not much is going to change. You know, we got our podcast, Cam Jansen, the Cam and Strick podcast. That continues to grow by the day. Just getting better and better. We love it. We love our interaction with all of you. And we hope a lot of you who listen to the podcast on a regular basis will have a chance to take in some hockey sense as well. Jake Neighbours is going to join me here in a little bit. Looking forward to that conversation. Doug Armstrong is set to join me next week, so we've got a lot of things on the table here for the first couple of weeks here as we transition into video here on Hockey Sense. Full YouTube. You can catch us on the podcast app. Anywhere you get your podcast, you can find Hockey Sense, in addition to the Cam and Strick podcast, which, of course, is fueled by First Form. And this is Hockey Sense, brought to you by First Community. And First Community Bank, they've been around St. Louis for a long time. They support hockey at all levels. If you've ever had a son or daughter get involved with the Little Blues program, or if you've checked out the St. Louis Blues Hockey Hall of Fame, any of it, all of that is brought to you by First Community. So they love hockey. We love First Community. We love having them on board here with us. So that's basically the gist of it. Everything else comes over with us. We've got all our great sponsors, 314 Sports Cards. Go by and see Devin. He'll join us on a regular basis here on Hockey Sense as well. And except, going from hearing him on the phone, now you're going to see his face, and he's going to show you some of his favorite collectibles and give you even more reason to stop on in and go see Devin Sant and his incredible team over there at 314 Sports Cards. 9640 Olive Boulevard in Olivet. Check them out on Instagram. They are the leader when it comes to hockey cards anywhere in North America. I say that all the time. I mean, nobody has a better selection of hockey cards in North America than 314 Sports Cards. Four Hands Brewing Company, St. Louis's #1 brewing company. They got that Cam and Strick podcast, Mango Lemonade Hard Seltzer, baby. Check that out anywhere you get your hard seltzers. Go in and get that Mango Lemonade. It's the best hard seltzer that you'll ever have. And I'm not even biased. I'm just telling you it's the best hard seltzer. We tried so many different flavors, and that's what we stuck with, the Mango Lemonade. And we all know, if you've been listening to the Cam and Strick podcast, mango and lemonade, they go together. Jamal Mayers will continue to drop by. He'll be with us here in just a couple of minutes here on Hockey Sense 2. So he's going to be with us on a regular basis. We're going to get into a ton of different things with Jammer. We can talk NHL with him. He coaches the 2012 AAA Blues here in St. Louis. His son, Crew, is a fantastic player. So he's got a lot of advice, a lot of opinions on the state of youth hockey. So we'll get into that coming up with Jamal as well. So again, nothing really changes except now that you see us, you can watch us on YouTube, you can check us out on the podcast app. But again, crazy things happen in the radio business, as you know, and they give you no notice. All of a sudden, things can change drastically. So for the time being, I've said, you know what, I'm not putting all my eggs in the radio basket when there's just so much uncertainty, and it's so unnecessary. I mean, we're at Half Coast Studios, and these guys, man, you hear us talk about Maddie all the time on the Cam and Strick podcast. You hear us talk about Alex. These guys are unbelievable. Sometimes it's too good to be true. But why do a radio show when you can just kind of control your own show, and it's available for you on YouTube? Now, it's uncensored. You can say whatever you want. It probably won't go as far as we take things on the Cam and Strick podcast, but still, we can be a little looser here on this edition of Hockey Sense versus the traditional radio. So I'm looking forward to that. And I hope you are too. And we'll have great guests for you each and every week. I'm looking forward to the season starting. You just had the development camp a number of days ago, right around the 4th of July, just prior to the 4th of July, just after the draft. Going to the draft was cool. Covering that for the Blues is always fun. Always enjoy it. I always love being in a place where everyone in hockey gathers together and everyone's kind of in one spot. The Sphere was super cool. We'll see if they continue that moving forward. I know all the talk is that each, NHL team bringing the draft in-house, and maybe that will be the plan moving forward, although it was so successful in Vegas that things could always change. We'll see. The big news yesterday, Ryan Suter signs with the Blues a 1-year deal. I mean, heavy bonuses. A lot of bonuses built into the contract. We'll see if he can meet all those bonuses. If he does, it's a positive for the Blues. And they really have nothing to lose. They're paying him $775 as a base salary. This guy's played over 1,400 games, if you can believe that. He's 39 years old, very durable, hardly ever gets hurt. He's had a couple of injuries throughout the course of his career, as you'd expect for a guy who's played as long as he has. But Ryan Suter is pretty reliable when it comes to him being in the lineup. From what I understand, his family's going to stay in Minnesota, so he's going to have some flexibility to go home and see his family. But he's a guy, if you talk to people who know him, people who have played with him, he's a guy who takes practice serious, doesn't miss practice. If it's an optional, maybe he sits it out, but he's into practicing. So it's not like he's going to be heading home and missing practice. He'll be around, and obviously will help the team win. People keep asking the question, what does that mean for the rest of the roster? Because now the Blues are heavy on the left side. They're pretty much taken care of on the right side, led by Colton Parayko. You've got Justin Falk and obviously Matt Kessel, who came onto the scene a year ago, got a 2-year contract extension, got that one-way contract, and it's his job to lose on the right side of the defense right now for the Blues. And, on the left side, listen, you've got the Nick Lettys of the world. They made some new additions. You've got some different players coming in and out of the organization. Torrey Krug is the name that I think a lot of people are curious about to see what the future will be for Torrey Krug here in St. Louis. Listen, I don't know what to say about that. As it sits right now, if you're going to ask me who's the odd man out, I would think it would be Torrey Krug. Now, listen, I was told a few weeks back that somebody on the Blues, on their back end, and I didn't ask specifically who it is, but somebody has indicated that they're willing to move. And whether that means waive their no-trade clause or whatever, I don't know what it means for Torrey Krug moving forward. Obviously, I would think by the addition of Suter, something's going to change. Somebody's going to be on their way out. And we'll just have to see how that plays out as we get closer to training camp. And obviously in the coming days things can certainly change. And we'll talk to Doug Armstrong next week and maybe get a clearer idea of what the plan is. But I think when you talk to people closely connected, whether it's with the Blues or elsewhere, I just feel like when you talk about the Blues coming into this season, I don't know. It's almost like Torrey Krug is almost removed from the scenario. He very well may be here. And I like Torrey an awful lot, man. This guy's had a great career. We just had Jake DeBrusk on the Cam and Strick podcast. We haven't even released it yet. We will next week. And all these guys love Torrey. I mean, he had a great run in Boston, and I still think he can play. Hasn't been a great fit for him. You're paying him $6.5 million per year. That's a heavy, heavy contract. When you look at, the Blues probably desired to allocate those funds elsewhere. And in reality, what he kind of gives you at this stage of his career. So we'll have to see how that plays out. I'm not writing off Torrey Krug just yet. But if you're looking at a defenseman on the Blues roster and say, well, who's the odd man out? Who's it going to be? I would probably say that it all signs point towards it likely being Torrey Krug, but we'll have to wait and see how that plays out. I'm not going to make any proclamations on our first edition of Hockey Sense Live from Half Coast Studios. But Ryan Suter's deal, and we can look at it here in terms of the contract details that I tweeted out last night. So $775 base. He'll get an additional $225,000 when he plays 10 games, another $400,000 when he plays 30, another $500,000 when he plays 40 games, and then another $600,000 if he plays 60 games or more. And if he plays 60 games or more and the Blues qualify for the Stanley Cup playoffs, this guy gets another $500,000. So nice contract, 39 years of age, over 1,400 games, brings a lot of experience. And we've talked to a lot of guys, man, about Ryan Suter over the years in the podcast. Everyone seems to have an opinion, but at the end of the day, the guy can play. He's been around for a long time. He's had a lot of success, and the Blues have a need. And I'll go back 3 years ago when he signed with Dallas. The Blues were in on Ryan Suter, and they recruited him pretty hard. They were after him pretty hard. They wanted to sign him at the time. They weren't willing to go the length of the term that Dallas obviously was willing to go with. I mean, they gave him a 4-year deal and then ended up buying him out. I don't think Dallas wanted to give him the 4th year. I think they were comfortable giving him 3 years at the time, but, for whatever reason, they were willing to give him the 4th year. They bought him out. He was okay in the playoffs. I thought he was better in the playoffs this year than he was a year ago. But I think Suter should be able to help. Veteran guy to play with Parayko or whoever he's going to play with. And maybe they keep Leddy with Parayko. We'll see how that plays out. But happy for Ryan Suter. Welcome to St. Louis. A lot of people asking, hey, he's got some kids who play. I think he's got a 2010 who's really good. And but I think the family may be staying in Minnesota and they'll continue playing hockey there. So again, they'll work all that out. Speaking of the 2000 or 10-year-old hockey, and 2010s now are older than 10 years old, which is just crazy to think. The 2014s are who played in that brick tournament. And did you see all the videos coming through on social media and everyone's, salivating over Kaysen, Pusateri, and some of these other great players who played for that Detroit Junior Red Wings team, coached by Jimmy Howard. I was talking to Jimmy Howard the other day through text, and he'll be coming on the podcast soon. I just want to get his take on the whole thing. The brick tournament's amazing, and they're great players. I think that tournament has become bigger than the Pee Wee Quebec tournament. I mean, the Pee Wee Quebec tournament has always been the biggest and most notable youth hockey tournament in the world. And the brick tournament probably has overtaken it. We'll talk with Jake Neighbours about that coming up. He's from the Alberta area. Well, we'll get his take on what he thinks about the brick tournament. Of course, First Community brings us Hockey Sense each and every week. Live from Half Coast Studios. Got to look up there. You got a bunch of banners on the wall, man. This place is awesome. You just got to check out all the banners. Great to be here. Cam and I love being here each and every week during the podcast as well. Hey, the St. Louis Post-Dispatch, they revealed their list of the top workplaces for 2024. Top workplaces. Half Coast Studios is probably on there. But you know who else is on there? First Community. They made that list again. It's happened for the last 12 years. Can you believe that? What a run for First Community. 12 years, determined based on feedback directly from the employees. So if the employees are happy, that says something. First Community makes the list again, 12 years straight. 12 years straight. That is impressive. The satisfaction of employees is the indication of their organizational health. I mean, that is the absolute truth. Their strength and soundness. They've all had service from employees who clearly aren't happy with where they work, right? You ever go somewhere and you can tell the employee hates their job? They're not going to be like overly warm when you go meet with them. And you don't find that at First Community. And they love their customers. They love working there, and you can see that. Great to have them on board. Four Hands Brewing Company. We mentioned all the great seltzers and the hardcore, the craft beers that they have, and they have some hardcore liquor too. The gins, the vodkas, they got all of that. The 1220 spirits. I mean, Kevin Lemp flat out getting it done once again. You talk about great places to work. Four Hands Brewing Company has got to be one of those. They've got that new tasting room now in Kirkwood. Looks incredible. I've been out to the Chesterfield one, been downtown to their flagship locations dozens and dozens of times. So go get the craft beer, get the year-round beers, all the seasonal beers, and check out those seltzers too and all the 1220 spirits. Find me an event here in St. Louis that isn't brought to you by Four Hands Brewing Company. You'll have trouble finding one. That's not easy to do. Dirt Cheap Fun, your one-stop party shop. Download that app. Get all those deals. They call them so good. The deals are so good they call them steals. That's how good they are. Some of the locations have drive-thrus, curbside, pickup, all of that. Don't sleep on their party supplies. And they got everything. Paper goods, all that. So if you're having back-to-school parties, still having graduation parties, birthday parties, anniversary parties, whatever it is, cocktail parties for the summer, pool parties, get everything you need at Dirt Cheap Fun, your one-stop party shop, baby. They are unbelievable. The best selection of beer, wine, and booze you'll find anywhere, plus a great selection of Four Hands Brewing Company products. All right, let's bring in Jake Neighbours. 27 goals last year. Everyone knows Jakey, fan favorite. In fact, Jake, listen, I was at the draft last week and talking to a couple of the players the Blues drafted. One of them played for the Oil Kings. Another one played in the Western League. And I asked these guys, well, who do you look up to? They say Jake Neighbours. I mean, to me, you're still just like a kid, Jake, but now even the kids are looking up to the kid, so that's got to not make you feel old, but that's got to make you feel good that these young guys say, yeah, I look up to Jake Neighbours.
Yeah, it's definitely a unique position, obviously, being looked up to. I think, obviously, Yeko there that was drafted, played for the Oil Kings, knows a lot of the same people I do. And, obviously, I have nothing but great things to say about my time with the Oil Kings. So, he'll be welcome with open arms by me for sure. And I think Thomas Mercick was the other one, plays with Oasis Weisblad, who's basically my brother from a different mother. So I live with him in the summers and we train together and skate together. And Oasis plays with them in Med Hat. So I kind of have a connection there as well. So I was very happy to see two Western League boys come to the Blues.
I love it. I love it. Edmonton. Man, playing in Edmonton, I'm curious. Do you see all these videos that have been out the last couple of weeks with the brick tournament? Like when you're playing in the Western League, like are people talking about the brick tournament while the tournament's going on? Like how much did you pay attention to that when you were playing in the playing junior?
I mean, it was a pretty big thing, honestly, when I was growing up in Alberta. Getting a chance to play in the brick tournament was kind of a cool thing. Obviously, it also required money, which for me wasn't an option for my father. He told me I was not allowed to try out for the team, but it's a pretty big thing. And yeah, I think when you're watching, even now playing in the NHL, you still hear about young kids that are lighting up that tournament that most of the time turn into something pretty special. So you definitely follow it. I do see all the highlights on Twitter and Instagram and whatnot of kids scoring some pretty nuts goals for being so young. So it feels like the game's just getting more and more skilled at a younger age now, and it's fun to watch.
So how did you do? Who'd you play for in the brick, and how'd your team do?
Oh, I didn't play. I wasn't
Oh,
allowed to try out. Yeah, my dad, he wouldn't drive me down to Edmonton every weekend for tryouts and camps and whatnot. So he just said, "You're not going." So yeah, never got that chance.
oh, there you go. There you go. Well, think how expensive it is for a kid from St. Louis. I mean, they don't even have a team in
Yeah.
St. Louis. A kid from St. Louis, it's based on territory. So you're kind of, unless you get released, you're kind of forced to play with like the Chicago team, for example. I don't want to say forced, but that's the team you would play for, which is great. They do a great job, and a lot of kids from St. Louis have played there. But it's not cheap, man. I mean, so I hear what you're saying. Then you got to get out to Edmonton and stay there for a week and a half. So it costs money, but I think it's a great experience for the kids.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's I guess the closest to best on best you're going to get until you're 17, 18 years old. So it is. I think it's good for the kids as well. I think it's obviously, like I said, it's very skilled and there's a lot of really good players there. And yeah, I think it's good for them to be in something that big and that competitive that young.
All right, so what are you working on this summer, man? You had a great year. Congrats on that last year. I know it ended a little prematurely with an injury at the end, which kept you from maybe getting to 30 goals. But I mean, you were lights out on the power play. You had a lot of success on the power play. Great shooting percentage. So, what are you working on now, Jake? What do you want to improve on next season?
I think just everything. Honestly, I've had a lot of good talks with obviously St. Louis about my year, my teammates, and everything like that. And I think just kind of coming in with that mindset that I can't come in and do the same things and expect the same results. You have to continue to adapt and develop. And I feel like last year I was kind of a breakout year for me, and I kind of came out of nowhere, I guess you could say. And now it's not going to be like that. You're going to get played harder, and you're not going to be a surprise anymore. So I think just being ready for that, and really getting strong. Obviously, making sure my body's healthy and taken care of, and then on the ice, it's just getting quicker and faster, and try and get smarter and make better plays. And there's just, you can go down the list of all the things you want to improve on, but I think it's just try to stay fine tuned and add things to the game.
All right, so being in Alberta, like, what was the reaction there? With Edmonton being in the Stanley Cup final, was it absolutely craziness? And are you one of these guys that watch the playoffs? I mean, will you sit down and watch? Some guys don't like to admit it, even though, like Alexander Steen, for example, I got to call him out because he used to tell me back when he was playing that he never watches hockey, but now he's going to be a general manager and he's like a total rink rat and loves the game. And I know he was watching it back then. But will you admit to watching NHL hockey and sitting back and watching the playoffs?
Yeah, I will. I'm a big fan of hockey. I always have been, and growing up, I watched a ton with my family, and in junior, I watched NHL hockey every single night with my billet brothers, and even living with Hof this year. If we weren't playing, we were at home. We just flick on a hockey game. So it's just something that's always been a part of me watching the game, and so I watch playoff hockey, and yeah, the atmosphere in Alberta was pretty crazy, and a lot of my family was Oiler fans before I was drafted to the Blues, and they converted to Blues fans. But so they were all still pretty excited to see the Oilers go that far, and I think it was good for the country. It kind of felt like there was a little bit of buzz going around, and everybody kind of was rooting for them. So it was fun to watch. I mean, it's entertainment, right? I know it's kind of weird because you play in the same league or whatever, but for me, I'm a fan of the game and I enjoy watching. So
Yeah, don't ever change that, man. It's okay to be a fan of the game. You grew up a fan, and that'll never change. You're going to be a fan long after you stop playing too. So that'll always be there. Were you surprised Edmonton came out of the West? Did you feel like they were truly one of the alpha dogs? During the course of the regular season when you met them head to head.
yeah, I think they just always have to be considered with obviously their star power they have there, and um, I think they started to get some goaltending and their depth was a lot better, and so yeah, they were. I mean, I thought they were a really good team going into the playoffs. I thought Dallas was really good. I thought Vegas was really good. Whoever that first round matchup was just almost sad to see it happen in the first round and not somewhere later in the playoffs. But I thought there was 3 or 4 teams from both sides that could have done it, and it just seems like the league's so competitive now, and teams are so good that it's just a matter of sometimes bounces of deciding which way a series is going to go.
All right, so um, this video came out that was viral, I think within the last couple of days, and obviously it was viral during the regular season of you scoring when I was interviewing your dad. But a bunch of people sent it to me yesterday. It came out again, Jake, and I don't know if I had a chance to talk to you about it publicly, but you know. When were you first made aware that I was talking to him or your dad was being interviewed at the same time that you scored? And did you guys ever talk about it afterwards? I mean, how cool of a moment was that for you and him and your family? Because everybody who watched it, man, they felt so good for you and your dad. It was such a cool family moment to see. And you could try to do that another thousand times. It may never happen. So what'd you think of that when you saw it?
Yeah, I was shocked. It was obviously pretty cool. I was surprised. I remember just coming off the ice after the game and walking into the room, and I can't remember who told me, but someone said that when I had scored, that my dad was on TV doing an interview. So, and then that was kind of obviously I heard that, grabbed my phone, and went on Twitter and took a look, and it was obviously everywhere. Kind of blew up pretty good there. So it was funny, man. I think the best thing about it was just my dad's reaction and talking to him about it earlier, and he was just on cloud nine. It was at the end of the dad's trip and him getting to be around the team and see what it's like to be in the NHL. And so he was already on a pretty big high. And then for him to be on TV and me score a goal, I think he was just an overload of joy and happiness for him. He was pretty shocked, and it was a cool moment for me and him, and really a special cherry on top of a pretty cool week with him that week.
All right, so I was at the rink this morning with my kid, at the rink last night with my kid, man. I mean, we're going through that right now. And a lot of hockey parents watch this and will be listening. Kids watch it. What was your relationship like with your dad growing up? How involved was he with your hockey? Was he hard on you with your hockey? Was he always supportive and kind of let you do his thing? And how much influence did he have on your youth hockey career?
A lot. Yeah, he was obviously, I think, most kids that have made it or even played hockey know how much their dads do for them to get them into minor hockey to start with, and to junior and pro and all that is just bonus. So for me, he was just he was hard on me. Yeah, like he pushed me. It wasn't anything crazy, like not one of those crazy stories where, your dad was so hard on you. And but he pushed me, and I needed it. And we always had a really good relationship. He was very open with me, and was not afraid to give me criticism. And for the most part, I would say the younger years, I wasn't very good at taking the criticism. And as I got older, I started to learn that, he sometimes knows what he's talking about, and it's worth listening to what he has to say. So it's definitely something that, relationship you build over the years of going back and forth. But, I definitely wouldn't be I am where I am today without my dad or my mom. But obviously, I think that relationship between a father and his son, and especially in a hockey family, is pretty special.
Will you hear from him after every game? Like at least a text or a phone call? Like how often are you guys talking during the season?
Yeah, there's a text after. There's 82 texts for 82 games. He texts me every single game, and then if things aren't going well, I'll get a call. He knows my schedule, so he'll usually call on a day off or call in the afternoon when I'm already home from the rink, and he'll just check on me and see how it's going, see what the room's like. He always wants the inside scoops of what's going on in the room, how the team's feeling, and stuff like that. So he's very invested. He's a proud dad, and obviously a big fan of St. Louis and the Blues, and all the people there. So yeah, he's trying to stay in touch with what's going on for sure.
All right, a couple more things for you, and then we'll let you go. First off, do you guys have a pro skate there? Like who are you training with? Who you working out with? Who you skating with out there?
Yeah, in Calgary, I got a pretty good setup. We skate Travis Konechny's out there, Adam Lowry, Josh Morrissey, Jordan Eberle, Dryden Hunt, Dylan Dubé. That's kind of just to list a couple, and then like Makar comes out sometimes. Um, yeah, and then we have like a ton of guys that play in European leagues, the American Hockey League. Some really good junior prospects like that. Landon Dupont, who just got exceptional status. He's been skating with us, so it's a pretty solid crew. And I work out with Eberle and one of my best friends, Ozzy Weisblatt, and um, Max Lajoie, Sheldon Rempel. So it's a good group, and we've been the same group for probably 7 summers now. So we're all very familiar with each other. We push each other, and we have a lot of fun.
How's that Dupont kid? Like legit, real deal?
Yeah, yeah, he looks legit. I mean, I only skated with him in a summer skate. Obviously, you can only say so much, but he can skate. He's smooth. You can just tell he's one of those guys that kind of has it different than everybody else. So I'm excited to see what he
Hey,
has to do, and or what he does in the Western Hockey League. So
tell Konechny to stop ducking Cam and I, because I've been all over him trying to get him to come on the podcast.
really,
You tell him, putting it in your hands there, man, to make it happen.
okay, I will. I'll get after him. I think I'm going to see him this week,
Okay,
so I'll
good.
get after
All right,
him.
we got some good ones coming up. Hey, a few more things. Ryan Suter, the Blues signed him yesterday. And I know you've played against him a handful of times. It's funny because years ago when he was playing in Nashville and you had him side by side with Shea Weber, I'll never forget Brad Boyes telling me that he had a more difficult time going up against Suter than Weber because Suter kind of had that heavy stick and the way he defended with his stick. I'm just curious what it's been like playing against him, what you know about him, and how you think he's going to impact your guys' team.
Yeah, I think obviously everything he said. He's super hard to play against. I think is a guy who goes to the net a lot. Getting a lot of altercations with defensemen. He was definitely one that was harder to get around or go through or whatever it may be. And he's got I think 1,400 games, most in the league for defensemen. He obviously brings a ton of veteran presence to the room, and I think which we need. And he'll be great for us. He can still play, which is incredible. After I think this will be his 19th or 20th year. So, I mean, for a young guy like me, I've watched him my whole life, and it'll be really cool to meet him and get to play with him. And I think I'm really excited, and I think the team's really excited about bringing him in, and having that veteran presence for us back there and being a little harder to play against.
He's got that man strength, I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
1,400 games is a
I don't
lot.
have that.
You're going to get there. Yeah, you're going to get
Yeah,
there.
one day.
And you have it, even at 21, 22, whatever you are right now, Jakey. What about Bucci re-signing?
Loved it, man. I was excited. Immediately texted him, and love Bucci, man. He's such a good spirit, and he just cares so much about the game, cares so much about winning, and is a very smart taker of the game as well. So it's a great guy to be around every day and kind of pick his brain about the knowledge he has about hockey, and obviously a very fun guy to be around as well. So I think that's a signing everybody's pretty happy about.
All right, and last thing, how you feeling, man? I know you ended the season hurt, but we started to see you a little bit, during the last couple of games of the season. So it felt like you were getting closer and closer to becoming healthy. If the Blues would have made the playoffs, I have a feeling maybe we would have seen you during the playoffs. I could be wrong. What happened, and how did that set back your training during the course of the offseason, and how you doing now?
Yeah, I'm doing good now. It didn't really set me back too bad in terms of off-season training or anything like that. Kind of as you mentioned, like if we were in a more important position or if we were in the playoffs, I would have been able to dress or, if the last two games were kind of win you're in situations, then I could have played. I just took a tough hit in San Jose, kind of banged my head. And just I was just having some symptoms and just needed to make sure I figured out what was wrong before I came back and got the proper diagnosis, because obviously you can never be too careful with the head or neck areas. So I had to make sure I was all right. We did the steps necessary to get me back to healthy, and then we just decided at the end of the year that it wasn't worth putting me in for one game, that wasn't worth it and risk hurting it. So but I've been healthy all summer, feel real good, and it's all taken care of now, and just looking forward to camp.
All right, Jake. Hey, thanks for doing this, man. It looks hot there, by the way, in Edmonton or
Yeah,
wherever you, Alberta.
Wainwright, Alberta. Yeah, it's a desert out here right now. It's real hot. So
Okay, go get inside, man. Thanks for doing this. Look forward to seeing you in a few weeks.
yeah, thanks, Trick. See you, man.
Okay, take care. All right, that's Jakey Neighbours. And we got to give it to Lukey Cunnin, one of my boys. Hey, he's the one who hurt Jake Neighbours. So that was tough. Listen, Lordo's Diamonds brings us that interview with Jake Neighbours. Been around for almost 70 years. LordosDiamonds.com, right there in the heart of Leduc. Can't miss it. 314-432-8008. Say hi to Mike and Jimmy, everybody with the Lordos team. Get that special someone, something special in your life. Get him something from Lordos. Great time to pop the question. If you're looking to pop the question, they are the leader in engagement rings, and nobody does it better than Lordos Diamonds. So check them out. LordosDiamonds.com. Travel House. Travelhouse.com. That's Haus. If you're looking to travel, man, no better travel agency out there. They've got over 30 years of experience to go anywhere in the world. Beach vacations, ski vacations, cruises, spring breaks, whatever it is, book it through my girl Gail and everybody over there at Travel House, Haus. Of course, this is Hockey Sense, brought to you by First Community. All our friends over at Four Hands Brewing Company, 314 Sports Cards, the leader in hockey cards. Anywhere in North America, you won't find a better one. 9640 Ala Boulevard in Olivet. That's where you find our friends over there at 314 Sports Cards. We'll continue on with more and more Hockey Sense. Jamal Mayers coming up. Don't go anywhere. All right, each and every week on Hockey Sense, you know that Jamal Mayers comes in. Look at this guy. Now he's on camera trying to show me up. Easy there.
Yeah, you got a nice smile. You got to get it on camera. Let's go.
What's up?
Not too much. Just in the middle of the summer, still talking hockey, enjoying the game. And it's funny how it's become a year-round thing.
It is a year-round thing. Was it a year-round thing for you when you were growing up or no?
Absolutely not.
No?
But the good thing is Crew's doing a Chaminade basketball camp this week.
Really?
And it's been a nice break for him to try something new, something that he's certainly not as good as the top kids in basketball, but it's been fun week for him, and it's important at this age for me that he has a nice balance of doing other things.
What if he came home and said, "I'm quitting hockey. I want to play basketball"?
I would be devastated.
You would be.
I would be, but
would you still coach the team?
Probably not.
Oh my God,
that's a lot of time.
This would create a lot of issues for a lot of people.
It's a lot of time.
Don't
I do enjoy it.
Crew. Is he good at basketball?
He's actually pretty good. Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't say he's certainly not the top.
Is he like dunking, like 360?
No.
Tomahawk dunks?
He likes to shoot threes and tells me how he likes to handle the ball, and it's fun.
Okay. It's funny because I always pick Jamal's brain because his kid's like a few years ahead of my kid, like 4 years older. So like I always ask him a million questions. And he's always answering questions, and that's one thing you love talking youth hockey too. Like if people want to talk hockey with you, you're going to give them time and you're going to talk to them about it. And your son played in the Brick tournament a few years back, and of course it was a big deal all over social media, and it's always been a big deal. I mean, you talk to NHL players who played in it even 20 years ago. They said, yeah, it was a huge deal then, but obviously there was no social media. So social media makes it even bigger than maybe what it appears to be, even though it's always a big tournament. And I was just talking to Jake Neighbours, who grew up in Alberta. So the Brick tournament's huge. He played junior in Edmonton, so everyone's always talking about it. I was texting with Jimmy Howard the other day, who was coaching the team that won it, the junior Red Wings. But first off, your experience being there, I think you were helping coach too, right? The Chicago CCM team. So when your son played, how was the overall experience being there?
Well, I actually ended up, I forget what year it was, but I ended up assisting coaching as well about 3 years prior.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
really?
And then
you went up there before that?
I did. When I was working for the Blackhawks, I went up as a representative helping the team out, and they since changed the format and such. But so I was there not as a parent, and quickly realized how serious this was and how intense it was and how exciting it was for these kids, and just the atmosphere being in the mall and having the rink right there, the fans over top of them, the energy that's created from kids from all over North America. A real unique opportunity for kids at 10 years old to see where they stack up against the best in both Canada and the United States. So, and as you know, these spring teams are essentially local all-star teams that come together, not typically your club team throughout the year. So you are seeing the best of the best at that age. And it was a real unique experience. But like I tell a lot of kids, is like the finish line isn't 10 years old. Mm-hmm. It's not the Quebec Pee Wee tournament at 12 years old. I always tell Crew and his teammates that we won't know what kind of player they really are until they're 25. And they always laugh and like, 25? Why? Because quite frankly, it does take that long to figure out what kind of player you're going to be and who you are as a player. And it's wrong, in our opinion, to put these restrictions on kids of who they are as a player, even at 12, at 13. Do we really know? Keep enjoying the game, have the passion to continue to get better, understand that there's things that you have to do not only on the ice but off the ice to continue to get better. And it's that appreciation and understanding of doing the work to get better, to me, that is the most important thing, and having that passion and love for the game, and who knows what can happen.
But you're not saying like a 21-year-old, 22-year-old that's playing men's league right now, well, I haven't fully developed yet. I'm not 25 yet. I still got a chance.
No, they should probably go to school and get a real job.
Do something else. 25, it's interesting you say that, but you're talking about for like an established player, right? In terms of rounding into truly their peak form.
Well, what I mean is that if you're the top of your age group and you continue to play, and you are playing it after college and you're playing pro, I mean, those players, whether they're whatever league they're playing in, even playing in the NHL, you don't know what they are as a player completely until they're that age, in my opinion.
What did I tell you? What did you say when I said Jake Neighbours, he didn't play in the Brick?
Well, that just means he wasn't good enough. No, and that's okay.
No, he didn't try out.
Well, it means he wasn't good enough.
No, but what'd you say, though? I said he didn't play in the Brick. You said he's okay.
No, you know what? It proves my point. Maybe he wasn't good enough at 10 years old. And obviously it worked out for him. So, at the end of the day, it's a snapshot in time. I always tell another story about, I grew up in Toronto. So obviously there's a lot of guys at my age that played in the NHL from Toronto, from that area as well. And I always say to our team, and I said this actually after tryouts this year, I said, do you know who the best player when I was 12 years old was in Toronto? And they said, no. I said, Chris Scharf. Do you know who that is? Of course, they don't know who that is.
Right.
Drafted in the first round in the OHL, never played a single game in the NHL.
Really?
So at 12 years old, Chris Scharf was the best player. That to me tells you that it means very little who's the best player at 12. And so the journey is a long one. And the most important thing is continue to enjoy it and love it and want to put in the work.
Yeah. I know exactly what you're saying. And you're not saying that it doesn't matter if you're the best player at 12, but it doesn't automatically mean that you're going to be the best player at 18, 19, 20.
That's exactly it.
Yeah. Because things do change. I mean, even your son right now, who's a 2012, I mean, how much have you seen changes with his group over the course of the last 2-3 years?
Well, some kids grow quicker than others, and so they're going to get a little bit of a head start on perhaps their ability to affect games. And you see that more on tournaments when people get all excited about some kids that happened at the Brick even, and you're like, well, let's look at this. Let's look at this. The kid is already 5'4", okay, at 11 years old. The dad's 5'7", okay. The mom is 5'4". Like, that kid is almost done growing, and he's 11.
Why are you looking at me when you're saying that?
I'm just.
Somebody said to me this morning, they were like, "Dude, Ty's gonna be taller than you in like another 2 weeks," and I'm like, "Well, he might be, but
No, it has nothing to do with you and Ty. I'm just saying, like, sometimes people get all excited about certain. I'm like, well, the kid just grew quicker and grew first, so it'll all even out. It likely all kind of figures itself out as the kids get through puberty, but. I don't put too much stock into it. I have seen some changes in different players that were dominating 2 or 3 years ago, and now they're getting to 11 and 12, and the kids are catching up because they're growing as well. And it's incumbent upon them to continue to keep pushing themselves to get better.
So Jake DeBrusk, who we haven't even released it on the Candid podcast, but when he was drafted into the WHL, he was 5'3", 120 pounds, or 5'2", or 5'3", and his dad actually doctored the scouting report or something. I had him listed like going into tryouts at like 5'5", like when they fill out the form,
right? And
you put your kid's size, your height and weight. And he actually, in Louis DeBrusk, you probably know, he listed him at 5'5" instead of like 5'2" or whatever he was at the time. But now he's 6'1", to your point. His dad's a big guy, right? And he's like one of the smallest players on his team his whole time growing up in Edmonton, and everyone's like, God, how are you so small? And like players would chirp him on the ice, be like, your dad's Louis DeBrusk, look how tiny you are. And then now he's 6'1" and grew up, and eventually had his growth spurt.
That's I'm not surprised to hear that. I mean, it probably helped him. There's probably a certain grit to his game that he had to have, and then finally when he grew, my assumption is that didn't leave him as a player. So it's interesting to hear that, and I'm not surprised that. That happened.
All right, so going back to the Brick real quick, in the West Edmonton Mall where the games are played, like, is it as cool as it looks? And how many people can fit inside that rink? Are there a lot of people in there or not?
Well, you have to understand you're in a mall, so there's energy automatically because you have all these teams and families and people there for 10, 11 days, which is quite a long time. It sounds cool at first, but by day 8, you're like, okay,
with one game a day? Like, what are you doing all day?
Well,
watching
there's
other
restaurant. You're watching other teams. There's restaurants. There's pools. There's things to do in the mall, and they have these like motorized little carts you could rent. And Crew knows this, but him and his buddies ended up taking it and took it for longer than the half hour they're supposed to have it. Ended up at the wrong part of the other part of the mall, and the thing died because it's a battery. So he had to go find him. There's a little bit of that, chasing kids around a little bit of a mall, and it got a little bit old. But it is and continues to be a really well-run, fun event for kids that is unique in the mall, and the boards are lower, and the referees don't wear helmets, and it's got this really unique feel to it. They do a nice job of announcing it. All the games are
they
recorded.
do a hell of a job. Yeah,
and
Pee Wee Quebec, we gotta like pick it up now. Like, maybe they should have like a broadcast channel and start putting some of these highlights on Twitter.
Absolutely,
you don't see it from the Pee Wee Quebec. And this is the year you guys.
Yeah,
are
this is our year. Yeah.
Well, that's perfect timing, Jamal.
Let's do it.
Let's make that happen.
That's right.
Okay. The kids are good though, man. I mean, I will say that.
Yes.
And they're fun to watch, and you feel like it's grown even since you were there a few years back?
Oh, for sure. I think every year it gets bigger. I think social media has changed, and they start to tap into that. And now you see highlights every day. I mean, it was only 3 years ago, but they didn't do that when we were there. Like, you don't see now. It's like every goal that's scored, you're seeing them pumping it out and putting it out there, and it's pretty unique and a cool experience for the kids. I like seeing, and underneath by the dress rooms, they have a wall that shows all the past NHL players that ever played in the tournament in the year that they played, which was kind of cool for the kids to see that list of players, which is a ton of players. Obviously, the tournament's been around for 30 years. So,
who won it the year you guys went? Do you remember?
I want to say the Connecticut Junior Rangers.
Oh yeah, they won it a couple years in a row.
So
I
think at our age group, they're at the top of the list.
Yeah. Good organization for sure.
It beat Minnesota, pretty sure, in the final.
Hey, what do you think of? I don't know if I've asked you this because it's been a couple weeks and we had the week off last week with the holiday. But Alexander Steen now is going to be the incumbent general manager for the St. Louis Blues, and a lot of people are excited about this. People love Steener, man. He's been around the organization for a long, long time. Been around the game for a long time. What do you think the biggest adjustment is going to be going from being a player? And he hasn't been out of the game for that long. Now he's got the next 2 years to really to know that he's going to be in this position, to learn under Army, and as quick as he can, learn as much as he can about the business side of the game of hockey as well.
Well, first of all, there's a couple of things that stick out for me. He's an unbelievably smart hockey person that played, had multiple roles throughout his career in regard to being a first or second line guy, to perhaps at the end of his career when they won in 2019, maybe being pushed down the lineup a little bit. So he's a unique perspective of very few guys, I think, have had that cross-section as a player. I think what will be interesting to me as a fan of the Blues as well will be what little signature things are, and how is he going to put his fingerprints on how he wants to change the team or how he would like to build the team. That's interesting to me. I think that, and the other thing that sticks out to me is that he's willing to do the work, right? It's one thing to have the resume that he has and the pedigree that his dad played and he played and all those. I get all that, but you don't get to where he is without having the work ethic to put in the work, to watch tons of hockey, to be willing to travel and be away from your family. And I think that it'll be interesting to see what he does and how he changes things and what his vision of a team looks like. I think that having that perspective is unique for him, that he played and did so many different things. And I think he'll use all the different resources that are around him and then eventually over time surround himself with people he trusts that will help him with the vision that he has for this team.
Yeah, because that's one thing about Doug Armstrong. He works. Like, this guy is constantly traveling. He's everywhere. He loves scouting. You got to have a passion for scouting. I always say this about general managers. I don't care what position or title you have in hockey. At the end of the day, you're a scout with a different title. Everyone's evaluating talent, whether you're an assistant GM, on the amateur side, pro side, general manager. Everyone's watching games and scouting. And so everyone has maybe a little bit of a different title, but you got to be willing to put that work in, like you talk about. And the best general managers do.
Yeah, it takes time, and I think that to Army's credit, I think that as the evolution, I'm sure for him professionally is like, okay, where am I? What's my legacy? How am I going to be able to mentor someone like Steener to take that forward? Just as I assume he was mentored back when he started in the executive side. So at the end of the day, I think the Blues are in great hands, and not only now, but in the future. And I think that, to me, it's a natural fit that someone who I would say was defined as a Blue as a player. I can't remember if I played with him in Toronto before he got traded to the Blues or however that worked.
I think you might have for a short time.
He was definitely a fantastic trade for the Blues, and great teammate, great guy, and excited for what he'll do with the Blues as general manager.
Did you play with Koliakovo?
I did.
Well, then you would have played with Steen.
Okay.
Because they came over at the same time.
My favorite part about Coco is when he would spray the ice free spray after he blocked the shot or something on the bench. And he'd be like, spray.
Coco. Hey, man, toughness, though, personified, right?
Oh, yeah. How about the video where he hits the glass and you see him hit the glass? You have to look it up on YouTube.
I saw. He just couldn't, stop. He was like on his knees coming in.
But the best was his reaction with him whipping his own head back.
Oh, yeah.
That was great.
Ryan Suter, any thoughts on the Blues signing Ryan Suter? First off, 1,400 games.
Cool.
Wrap your head around that. You played 900 games, 900 plus, a couple lockouts, ACL injury. I'll go ahead and pump the tires for you. And you won a Stanley Cup, and you had a great career, play with a number of teams. But to get to 1,400, you would have had to play more than half of the games that you played already, and you played a long time. That is a lot of games. It
is. And it's not just a lot of games. Think about how many years he led the NHL in minutes played.
Yeah.
I mean, I think my recollection, there's at least 5 or 6 years where he led the NHL in ice time. And he's one of those few guys similar to me, the only similar guy to me that I played with would be Prongs, who was able to play those amount of minutes and make it look effortless. And, he's not a small guy. So I think his skating ability has allowed him to play that long, but he's stayed away from injury for the most part in his career, which has helped certainly, but just a smart, smooth skating, consummate professional stay-at-home type of defenseman. And maybe early on people wanted more offensively from him because of his, what he can do skating-wise, but I think he's one of the better defenders and has always kind of reminds me of Bouwmeester in that regard, like kind of that steady veteran presence that'll help the Blues.
Do you think most players would stick around and play that long if they could? And like they're forced out of the game because they can't play anymore, they can't, play at the level that they did. Teams stop offering contracts, they age out, whatever it is. I mean, what's the common denominator between these guys that find a way to play 1,200, 1,300, 1,400 games?
I think it's passion and love for the game and enjoying the daily process of what it takes to be a player. And that means the fitness that it takes in the off season. I think once you lose the passion to do that, you can't play anymore. If you combine that now with the nutrition and the discipline that it takes to eat and do the right things, sleeping-wise, preparation-wise, recovery-wise, and staying on top of all of those elements, if you're not committed to those daily habit things that require you to do, especially as you get into your 30s, then you have no chance to continue to play. Regardless if in your brain you want to play and you think you can play. If you're not committed to those things and your lifestyle, you have no chance.
All right. Who brings you on Hockey Sense each and every week?
Well, first off, it's Bartolino's, and you think about it, they've got 4 restaurants, Bartolino's South, Bartolino's Osteria, Chris's Pancake and Dining, Chris's at the Docket. They forge many lasting relationships with their customers. Their family motto, cook good food, serve plenty.
Yes.
Over 50 plus years in business.
Wow.
Only 2 places to dine, at home or at one of Bartolino's family restaurants.
I love it. All right, Dobbs Tire is an auto center. I go there more than I want to go, even though it's beautiful and I love going in and seeing everybody and calling Dustin and he gets you in and everything. It's never convenient whenever you need new tires.
I know.
But I'll tell you, it's convenient when you take it there because you're in and out right away.
Yeah, they're the best. You think about it, I think it was about 6 weeks ago, my daughter's Volkswagen Atlas, she made it home. I don't know how, because I look at her tire and she had a huge nail in the tire. And her tire, by the time I went back out 10 minutes later, was completely flat. Didn't know I knew how to do it, but I jacked it up, got the tire off.
Really?
Yeah. Brought it over to Dobbs. They replaced the tire, brought it back, put it up back on, and fixed it up in the same day. It doesn't matter what you need or what kind of car you drive. Unbelievable service, great people, family owned. Been around St. Louis for I think they have over 42 locations. They say go to Dobbs.com for more.
There you go. Thanks for doing this, man. I hope you like the studio.
This is nice.
Yeah.
It's a good look.
Yeah. It's not bad here at all. So Half Coast Studios, this will be our new home. Check us out on YouTube, everywhere else, and you'll see more and more of Jamal Mayers. So thanks for coming by.
Appreciate it.
Okay. All right. Hope you enjoyed Jamal Mayers, Jake Neighbours, this edition of Hockey Sense. This is going to be our home, Half Coast Studios. Looking forward to continuing to do the show here from Half Coast. And, of course, we wouldn't be able to do it without all our great sponsors, including First Community. We love our friends over there at First Community. Little Blues is a great program. And, listen, I love talking about Little Blues and First Community and their involvement in youth hockey at all levels. My son got his start with Little Blues, and a number of other hockey parents can say the same thing. It's the best program out there. And you get your son or daughter signed up. It's not a large, out-of-pocket cost. I think you get 6 sessions, but it comes with all your equipment too, from skates, helmet, all the way down. You get everything. And you get your, great on-ice instruction. The kids have a lot of fun. Even if the kids don't really know how to skate, it's kind of designed for them. It's more like a learn to skate, learn to play type program. So get your kids signed up, and if they like it, do another session. And then go, have them sign up to go play their mini-mite hockey or whatever they want to get into. It's for ages 4 through 9. So even if you're past mini-mites or past mites and you want to take up the game of hockey, this is the best way to do it. I mean, there's zero intimidation for these kids. You don't need to come out there and be able to stick handle and shoot and skate around. And this is truly where you learn to play the game and where you learn to love the game, more importantly. And it's not possible without our friends over there at First Community, Glenn Barks and everybody. Firstcommunity.com. Four Hands Brewing Company, Dirt Cheap Fun, your one-stop party shop. Get that app once again. 314 Sports Cards, all our great friends over there. Devin Sant, his incredible staff. 9640 Olive Boulevard in Olivet. So check that out. Get out there today. Lordo's Diamonds, Travel House, Paul's Market. I was telling some people the other day about Paul's Market. They deliver the best steaks, seafood right to your front door. Tommy Daniels, he's driving around somewhere right now listening to the show, and he will deliver it to your front door. So check them online, or check them out online, Paul's Market as well. All right, so this is our first edition of Hockey Sense live from Half Coast Studios. Thanks to Maddie, Alex, everybody for bringing us on board. It's great to be here. Check it out. Instagram, Twitter. You can follow me at Andy Strickland, at Real Strick Nasty on Instagram. And you can, subscribe to us on the podcast app and follow us along on YouTube as well. So check that out. All right, everybody have a great day. I'm Andy Strickland, reminding you to keep your head up and your stick on the ice. We'll do it again next week, every Friday. Look for it on YouTube and the podcast app. Have a great weekend, St. Louis.